In this video, we'll be taking a look at manipulating and animating lights in Maya. We'll be focusing in on the more popular lights being used. We'll find those under the Create menu, and we'll go ahead and tear off the Lights submenu. We'll start with the directional light. It moves and rotates just like any other object, and its view, its icon, shows you exactly what direction it is facing. The attributes for the directional light are color and intensity. Intensity is the brightness of that light, and the color is the color of the light and can be changed like any other colored object in Maya. To turn on shadows for lights, directional lights, as well as other lights, there is a roll down called shadows where you can turn on one of two types of shadows: depth map shadows or ray trace shadows. Animating a light is just like animating any other object in Maya. Simply set a keyframe for position, rotation, or scale. And let's go ahead and start on frame 1 in our range. And I will press Shift W, and that will set keyframes for translate X, Y, and Z. And then I'll Shift E for rotate X, Y, and Z, just like any other object. And I'll go to frame 30. Let's just make this a 60 frame clip. And I'll move the light. And I'll rotate the light. And I will press Shift W and Shift E again to set keyframes at frame 30. You can see we're animating the light. Let's say after frame 30, when it gets into position, we want to slowly dim the light down. So in the attribute editor for the light, we will set a keyframe for its intensity by right-clicking on the intensity attribute and selecting Set Key. We'll go ahead to frame 60 where we want it to go to black, and I'll drag the slider to 0, right-click again and select Set Key. And now we have a moving and dimming light. Now let's take a look at the spotlight. Again, moving and orienting just like any other object, just like any other light. The attributes for a spotlight are a little bit different than the attributes for a directional light. You have the familiar color and intensity attributes. Intensity governs the brightness of the light, and color obviously governs the color of a light. Go ahead and keep that at white. And take a look at the key attributes for spotlight. The cone angle changes the size of the light cast, and the penumbra angle. And what we're going to do is we'll render this frame with the existing spotlight, and you'll see a very hard shadow line where the extents of that spotlight are met. The penumbra angle softens that fall off. So if we set a penumbra angle of 10, let's put this in our buffer, render that out, you'll see that it's a much softer fall off between the two. A positive penumbra angle falls off outside of the original disk. A negative penumbra angle will do the fall off on the inside of that disk. Essentially, you're slightly changing the cone angle when you do this because you're falling off the light either inward with a negative number or outward with a positive number. This gives you a much more realistic light than a zero penumbra. An additional fun thing to know about spotlights is the manipulator. If you press T on your keyboard, you will enact the special manipulator. This special manipulator, also known as its icon, Show Manipulator tool, is different for the different types of objects. The special manipulator for a spotlight in particular gives you control over the movement of the source of the light, so you can move its source, and its target, which is quite convenient. Animating a spotlight is much the same. Let's go back to the channel box by pressing Control A. You can also do it right through here. Animation is exactly the same. You'll want to set keyframes for position and or rotation. We can do that by selecting these attributes, right-clicking, and selecting key selected. I'll go to frame 30, and instead of just moving the light or rotating the light as I've done before with the directional light, I'll use the special manipulator to move the source and the target respectively. Once I'm happy with this positioning, I will once again go into the channel box, select these attributes, right-click, and key selected. Although the manipulators used are different between Move and the special manipulator, the effect is still on the translate and rotate numbers, and therefore these keys are the same as if you moved and rotated the light manually instead of using the special manipulator. And yet another fun thing to know about Maya lights, if you go to the attribute editor for any selected light, you'll be able to change the type of light it is through the type pull-down menu. I can change the spotlight into a point light, or into an area light, or into a directional light, whichever I wish. You can see the special manipulator for most of these lights is the same as what we just saw. What happens to the animation if you change the light? Let's go ahead and change this to a directional light. You can see the animation is still there. Even if we go to an area light, for example, the animation is still there. In this video, we took a look at how to manipulate the attributes and the actual physical characteristics of lights, focusing mostly on the directional and spotlights to see the differences between their attributes.